Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, more goes to Washington. Also, the V team takes a look at Dems for the win. And Attorney General Steve Marshall, he's gunning for gaming. Nice shooting there, Tex. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V team. Welcome on.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Josh, just when we thought that appointed Attorney General Steve Marshall couldn't get any more tone deaf politically, he went and pulled the big one.
He announced this week his plans to sue, I guess, for lack of a better term, 5 casinos around the state, or file lawsuits in 5 counties, and kind of reigniting the bingo wars, which I think everybody was really hoping that would happen, and for what I guess can only be political gain out of this. I didn't hear anybody complaining about these casinos anywhere, or anybody saying, hey, this is the most pressing problem in the state right now. How about taking a look at that?
No, I mean, Beth, Governor Kay Ivey's team came out this week and said that Governor Bentley's executive order saying that it was up to the local sheriffs to enforce the bingo laws in their county, and that's been happening. There hadn't been any big problems. But Steve Marshall's, his polling is about 7%. Troy King, who hasn't been in office in 7 years, is polling at 30. So we hear that his campaign manager, a guy that used to work for Ralph Reed, that pillar of religious stature, suggested that he raid the bingo halls.
Yeah, it's like there's a playbook for the AGs out there somewhere. Like, oh, it's coming up time for re-election. Let's go raid the bingo halls, and let's go do this, and let's go do that. Like, it's like there's a checklist they all go through, and I think the people are tired of it. I mean, like, look at the opioid crisis in Alabama. Look at all of the things here that we actually could use an attorney general working to address. And instead, he's worried about, I mean, I would be more happy if he would address the people going 65 in the left lane on I-65 instead of worrying about the bingo halls. I mean, we've got bigger issues in this state.
Well, Jack, we've spent millions and millions of dollars on this. They may, according to our Supreme Court, who seems to be able to find a reason to vote any way that pleases a politician.
You mean our activist Supreme Court?
Yeah, our activist.
Who all ran under being strict constructionists? Yeah. Well, here's the deal. I heard Steve Marshall on a radio show that follows mine on Thursday say that it was not his intention to raid any of these bingo operations, that he thought the best way to go about it was legally through the courts. After he went to the governor and said, I need your help, send Aaliyah to raid bingo halls, and she said no. And he got on the radio and he lied. Now, that's not getting off to a good start in my book.
It's not the best idea because he can't do it, so now we're going to try something else.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we've already proven he was a liar because he went to the Porch Creek before taking the job with Bentley and asked them for money, and they said no at the time, or at least we understood it. And then he called me and said, no, I didn't do that. But the people with the Porch Creek have never lied to me, unlike our past attorney generals. So I'm not worried about that. The thing that worries me is he's so weak that he's dangerous.
Yeah, and he's proven pretty well that he'll do and say pretty much anything at this point to try to get himself to maintain in that office there. But, going back to the Supreme Court, because I think that's important here, is that is giving him cover to do this. This is the problem with a court that does these sorts of things. And I mean, if you look at the rulings there that have come out in the last couple of years against Victory Land and against Green Track there, they took a tactic there that basically contradicted themselves on what they had ruled in years previous in order to say issue these rulings that Steve Marshall is now relying on to do this nonsense here.
Well, and part of this, Jack, goes back to Sue Bell Cobb and that cornerstone ruling where, everything has to be on paper bingo cards, and that's the only time the court ever got any funding.
The most political group in Alabama are the courts, and it shouldn't be that way. And it's really bad because, I don't know why they feel like they need to go and raid bingo halls or try to shut down gambling. I mean, we're talking about a lot of jobs here too. I mean, whether or not you believe it's gambling or whatever, I mean, there are a lot of people that are going to be impacted by this just insane way to get your name in the media, which is what Marshall's doing.
Right, and that's what it always comes back to is you've got one man who's putting politics over people, and he's putting his own career over, how many families in Macon County were harmed when they came through and shut down Victory Land? Like, how many people got put out of jobs?
2,300.
Exactly, that's a lot of families, and in a county that rural and that small, that's a huge chunk of their infrastructure.
Were they white families or predominantly black families?
I think we all know the answer to that. 2,300. I want people to seriously, it gets tossed around a lot. There were 2,300 people working at Victory Land. 2,300. Compare that to other industries in this state. They weren't getting any money. There were no economic incentives. There's nothing from the state coming their way to help with this stuff. But there were 2,300 people in Macon County, Alabama.
Alone.
One of the poorest in America.
And again, this is all based on an obscure thing that Brian Taylor, who works for, Brian Taylor came up with, and he's a giant of legal stature. We know that, and then it's just gone on millions and millions and millions of dollars. And Josh, there's only one way to settle this: give the people right to vote.
Yeah.
Well, they did vote. They did vote.
Well, they did vote down there.
And in every statewide political poll, and one of them said only 8%, and this was just a poll that we did 2 months ago, only 8% of the people in Alabama favor allowing the Indians to have the only gaming sites in Alabama.
Why would you do that? It makes no sense.
Sure it does. You're being paid millions of dollars in campaign contributions.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying, why would any people? No, the majority of people are not against it. If we're going to have it, tax it and take some revenue off of it.
And on top of that, Steve Marshall is a former contributor to President Obama. So remember that.
Yeah,
just throwing that in there.
This guy,
let me get that out.
That's the first thing I've liked about him so far.
He was Obama's guy until 2012.
Well, so was Tom Watley and all the rest of them.
Oh, shut up. You were watching to be the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and insults.
I'm John Merrill. As your Secretary of State, I want to encourage each and every eligible U.S. citizen that's a resident of Alabama to be registered to vote and to obtain a government-issued ID. It's important for your information to be updated as well. Please contact your local board of registrars or download the mobile app at Vote for Alabama so you'll be prepared to vote on December the 12th. We'll see you at the poll.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Welcome back.
Hey, glad to
Mama's
be back
back.
finally.
How you doing?
That took a minute.
Yeah. Beth, this week, Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox, the great white hype of the Democratic Party. No, he's really a great guy. He actually could stand a chance of winning the governor's race. Maybe not this time, but at some point. But he's going all out, good-looking young man, progressive, but not too liberal, and from a great town.
Yeah, I like Walt a lot. I mean, I'm going to challenge you on the great town thing because I'm an Auburn girl.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
But, I mean, I like Mayor Maddox a lot. I think he's a good guy, and I'm really curious to see how that race goes with him and Judge Cobb, because that's going to be an interesting race. I wish we could have planned it so that they weren't up against each other, because I think we need both of them on the ticket. So
Jack, I think he'd beat Sue Bell Cobb like a rented mule, but maybe not.
I don't know. She'll get a lot of the women's vote, but I have talked to some Democrats who are upset with her because she quit her job as Chief Justice.
Absolutely, I've heard they're
early.
livid.
She thought her husband was going through a health situation at the time, but there's still people who have a lot of angst about that. I've met Walt Maddox. I've known Sue Bell for years, and I'm crazy about her, but I met Walt Maddox at a conference, and he's as nice as he can be, and everybody in the room came to him, and they were all Tuscaloosa folks, so he's very well liked.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also what's really going to come down to, I think, is the fact that Sue Bell Cobb, and I love her to death, is going to have a lot of problems raising money. Maddox is he's coming in, strong in the money category already. I went through this last week and looked at him, and he's looking really good at being able to raise a great deal of money.
I mean, heck, come on, he and his family look like what, our modern day John Kennedy kind of thing. I mean, and boy, the way he handled that disaster on April 27th on the tornadoes, he did a heck of a job. But, we'll see. He's got a shot. Going to be hard to beat Kay Ivey at any turn.
But I think he will do a good job of representing the party, because when you've got a strong candidate at the top of the ticket, then it helps carry down all the way down to those city councils, those county commission seats, all the way down the ballot, and that's what we've got to have.
You were talking about that. Right?
Yeah, I was talking about that before we taped the show, and I think that could very well be the case, but also that, depending on how Roy Moore and Doug Jones do in December, if Doug Jones comes close, or should he win, this is going to give the Democrats a lot of renewed hope.
Yeah.
And even if he comes close, it's going to give them a lot of renewed hope.
And listen, what happened this week in Birmingham was no short of a hard-working miracle. Did you have anything to do with that?
I wasn't officially involved in it, but I supported Randall Woodfin, and I'm proud to see him come out on the winning side. I think it was the first time I've ever sided with the burning people ever on anything. But Randall's a great guy, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job as mayor. I trust the people that he's surrounding himself with. And, I think had Mayor Bell won that election, the city of Birmingham would have had problems on their hands, just because of the number of young people and people of all ages, really, that came out and were ready to see Randall get elected. I've never seen a field organization like
Mayor
it.
Bell did a great job while he was there. He did not get indicted or anything like that.
Yeah, A+ on that. Good job.
A+.
But
especially
if I
in
read
Birmingham.
correctly, he made a very gracious concession.
He's a gracious guy. He really got class.
The people spoke just like they spoke when I was elected.
And to what Beth said, this is the youngest mayor in the last century in Birmingham. So the young people finally said, hey, we need somebody that represents us, and I think they've. In the end, I think it's a good selection for the demographic.
He is very, very progressive, and it's going to be a challenge for him in a state that's not progressive.
And he is young, very young.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember George Siebels. I don't know if y'all ever remembered him, he's a great guy. He was mayor of Birmingham.
He's a member of the Young Democrats, too. So
this is also a movement that's moving across Mississippi and Georgia, too. So we may see another dynamic here in the South.
I mean, look, it's nice to see a shakeup. Speaking of that, Vice President Joe Biden, former Vice President, down this week.
And you did a great speech.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was honored. So honored to
wonderful.
share the stage with both Doug Jones and Joe Biden. Like, what a privilege that was. But I think he did a great, Joe Biden came down and did a great speech for Doug and really whipped everybody up. So I think people are excited.
Hey, you helped with that. That was
It
really
whipped
good.
up some Republicans too, by the way.
Yeah, I got those on Twitter. That was fun.
Believe it or not.
Well,
I would love to have a beer with Joe Biden.
Oh, God, yeah.
Wouldn't that
It'd
be fun?
I tell you, I walked in on in his holding room. I didn't realize it was a room. I just go, oh, "You're Joe Biden," and he goes, "I know." I was like, sorry.
You know, he was on Jay Leno's car thing, that car show that he had.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I make the Secret Service nervous," but he's just a real down-home guy.
Well, he is, and you know, he's one of those politicians you know you can have a beer with, and you might disagree on certain things, but you wouldn't be disagreeable, and that's kind of nice. Not to be too hard on our Medicaid folks down here, but we told you so. The government found the United
Again.
States government found out that they had a data breach where they had not protected the data. There was no data breach. They say that this didn't have to do with what we reported on. So the old system they got vulnerable as the $100 million system they're trying to get.
Can we please get somebody in this state, just one person, to overlook these contracts before they get signed with Stars, Cares? Shall I go on?
No,
Wait,
but
Just one person.
Basic web security. I'm sorry, this is equivalent to like leaving your car unlocked and then like wondering why somebody breaks into it.
And your wallet on the front seat.
well, Jack, they said that all that information, if somebody had hacked it, they could have had all of it.
Well, I
Wow.
don't understand any of that stuff, but
Social security
Yeah.
numbers, children's
Yeah,
I mean,
names, ages.
I mean, listen, Stephanie Azar is a smart woman. They just need somebody over there that has some clue about IT.
we need someone of us in every agency we have in the state because this is systemic. It's everywhere. Yeah, I just had to do Stars again this week. Sorry.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
It was better.
Oh, better.
It was
how many
Okay.
million
better.
did we lose on Stars? Like 4?
Oh, God, there's no
There's-
telling.
yeah,
no
no,
telling.
there's a lot.
Anyway, we're going to have to leave it right
Millions
there.
and millions.
You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and analysis.
The Energy Institute of Alabama promotes reliable, affordable, and clean energy to help grow our economy, create high-paying jobs, and build public support for Alabama's energy industry. Access to clean, affordable energy continues to be an issue of vital importance in the halls of government and around the kitchen tables across our nation. The Energy Institute of Alabama is the best source of energy industry information and how it affects households across the state, from convenient energy production to alternative fuels to solar power and beyond.
Lawson's Aesthetics and Med Spa is a one-of-a-kind medical spa offering a portfolio of rejuvenation services and advanced technologies to enable you to feel younger and look fabulous without the need for invasive surgery. Owned and operated by licensed physician Dr. Heather Lawson, the Lawson's Aesthetics and Med Spa offers advanced therapies for women and men to revitalize body and mind. Discover what you and Lawson's Aesthetics and Med Spa can accomplish together. It's your life. Live well, live strong, and live beautiful.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Beth, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District, he's just new on the job, but at a press conference, he came out and said that only 4 rogue agents knew about the conspiracy involving Representative Oliver Robinson to convince people in the northern part of Birmingham not to have their homes tested, their soil tested for pollutants, which has led to him, Robinson, pleading to felony charges, and all of this to try to protect big energy. You got two Walsh Bingham lawyers, one guy that worked for Drummond Cole and a state legislature, and he wants us to believe that there was nobody else involved. No one else knew, he said. They were duped.
I mean, okay, then my question is, if there were only 4 rogue, EPA agents that knew about this, how many EPA agents are there in the area that were working on it?
No, they're not EPA agents. It was the rogue
law partners.
The law partners and stuff. So
yeah.
they just, but I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I just don't understand why, so what's the dog in the fight then? They all just kind of took this off to themselves. I don't know. I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense.
Susan, a law firm that has partners like Walsh and Bingham, you're moving $400,000 basically through there, and they're going, well, I didn't see anything.
But in the meantime, they're having the names removed off the checks. I mean, this is not a small conspiracy, but there's no way that just 4 people were orchestrating this entire thing. We're not stupid here.
Well, maybe, Jack. Maybe, if Walsh is that inept with the money, then maybe their corporate clients should worry about all their activities.
They hadn't been around as long as they've been around and been as reputable as they have been without other people being involved in this. I mean, they're not a sloppy law firm, let's face it, or they wouldn't have been in business so long. Either the U.S. Attorney is cutting a deal and other people are getting off the hook, or there's a cover-up, one of the two.
Well,
and
we haven't seen one of those before, have we?
No.
Not in Alabama.
No.
I mean, it just, to me, it just doesn't pass the smell test because, all that money and nobody knew about it. He said that the upper echelon had been duped. Well, if they're that dumb, they don't need to be the upper echelon anymore.
It's government work, so there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but still, isn't the EPA trained to look for this kind of stuff? We have all these people on contaminated land, and none of them want their houses checked. Why was nobody blowing a whistle? This is ridiculous.
Well, it ended up, it's gonna hurt somebody, especially.
Well, what's
Oliver
going to hurt is
Robinson.
the statute of limitations is running out on some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where it's really going to hurt.
I want to pick up on this next story. We have a district court judge, Kim Chaney. There was an ethics violation filed against him, or violations, and it was referred from the Ethics Commission to the Attorney General's office, which, Beth, that's pretty much like an indictment. They're saying that they have found grounds that something wrong has occurred, and it was referred to them. And basically, he was feeding
appointments, right?
Yeah.
As I understand it. So as a judge, you have to make sure that everybody has a right to counsel. And if they don't have counsel, you can appoint them. So what I understand is that he was then directing all of that, which the state will pay for indigent counsel, to his son or his son's law firm so that they could get that money there.
And he sits on JIC.
Yeah, he sits on the Judicial Inquiry Commission.
Where he judges other judges, correct?
Yeah. Including Roy Moore. I mean, you got a guy who during the period, it appears, during the period he was judging Roy Moore, he was breaking the law. If this is true, he was breaking the law.
And another interesting point here is his attorney is Augusta Dowd, who just came off of JIC.
Isn't she the president of the Bar Association
now? The president of the Bar Association.
Well, I think she's wonderful because I got to take that bar exam soon.
Jack, it's incestuous.
Well, I don't understand why JIC didn't look at this first and refer it to the court of the judiciary. This is clearly a violation of state law, in enriching your family while you're sitting on the bench. But I'm happy the Ethics Commission forwarded it to the AG.
But I agree with you. The judicial inquiry should be looking at this.
Of course, they operate behind like the guy behind the curtain in Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You don't know who's on it. You don't know what's come before it. You don't know what's coming out of it.
Remember, too, though, there's a completely different set of ethics for judges. Like, there's the judicial code of ethics, and then there's just state ethics laws.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough to sit here and say, well, he might have violated this one or that one, but it could be that what he did might not have violated judicial ethics, but came under ethics laws, and that's why Chick's not.
I don't know
That's a
how
good
you,
point.
maybe, I don't know how you have one without the other.
We'll see.
Well, Judge...
Or not. They may seal it.
We've only got about a minute and 15 seconds here. Judge Roy Moore went to Washington this week and basically gave everybody up there the raspberry. It was just, or the Bronx cheer. I don't know what you do.
I don't know who is advising his campaign right now while he's in D.C. and making these trips, but he needs no advisor, because some of the things that he did broke protocol in many different ways this last week,
and they seem
it's
proud
going
of
to
it.
cost.
They seem proud of
I
it.
think he's doing great. He needs to keep up exactly what he's doing.
That bothers me.
Seems like the head Christian in charge would be more extending an olive branch than snubbing the D.C. establishment. I understand they tried to beat him and beat him badly, but at some point you have to kiss and make up.
You have to lay
what?
that down and move on.
You're going to need their money. You can run against them all day, but you're going to need their money. If you don't, God bless you. But I think it's best to talk to everybody. Anyway, I'll
Maybe
let it
the
go.
same guy advising the AG's advising Roy Moore.
I don't think so, but what do I know? This week we lost a very good public servant. Representative Jim Patterson passed away. He will be missed.